Struggling to find a good lunch video? You found it. Level 1. Heroes. The heroes of Greek mythology can be split into three main categories: semi-divine, demigod, and human. While the human heroes are interesting, the most famous are the divine ones. Take for example Achilles. Achilles starts a story when he was born, obviously. Not just because of the fact he was born, but because he was subsequently dipped into the river Styx by his mother, a sea nymph, to make him immortal. And from that moment onward, his whole life became a prophecy. He'd either die young and famous, or old and forgotten. When the Trojan War broke out, he knew this was his prophecy, so he joined the war. Not for honor or defending his country, but for fame. It came, however, to a rocky start. When the king of Achilles stole his war prize, his pride was bruised, and Achilles refused to fight. He watched his comrades fall, knowing his sword could have saved him. This continued until Patroclus, his closest friend, put on the armor meant for him and went out in his place. Hector killed him. When Achilles found out, he tore through the battlefield like a god of war, hunted Hector down, and dragged his corpse around Troy's walls for days, surprising not just the enemy but even his comrades. But then, after speaking to Hector's father and realizing the sorrow he had caused him, Achilles cried over Hector's body and allowed him to have a proper burial. Having nothing left to lose, he charged back into battle, knowing it would be his last, dying from an arrow going through his only mortal part, his heel. Then there's Hercules, son of Zeus and a mortal girl, hated by Zeus's wife Hera for being Zeus's bastard son. One night, Hera sent madness upon him and forced Hercules to kill his wife and son. To atone for his guilt, King Eurystheus ordered the Oracle of Delphi to give him 12 impossible labors, such as slaying a lion whose hide couldn't be pierced, capturing Cerberus from the underworld, slaying the Hydra, and by far the most interesting challenge, retrieve the golden apples. The golden apples of Hesperides grew in a hidden garden at the edge of the world, guarded by Hesperides, daughters of night, and a sleepless dragon named Ladon. The apples were sacred to Hera and were said to grant immortality to whoever ate them. As his 11th labor, Hercules was ordered to steal them, a task no mortal, including Hercules, could complete. Not metaphorically, he just literally couldn't complete it. So after wandering across deserts and mountains trying to figure out how he could complete this, Hercules found a titan named Atlas. Atlas is the one who held up the skies and the heavens. So Hercules offered to hold up the sky himself if Atlas would fetch the apples. Atlas agreed, tricked the dragon, and returned with the apples, but refused to go back to holding up the sky. So Hercules decided to play along, asking that Atlas briefly held up the sky so Hercules could readjust his shoulders. The moment Atlas took it back, Hercules walked away with the apples in hand. He later gave them to King Eurystheus, but since the apples belonged to the gods, Athena, a god which pitied Hercules, returned them safely to the garden, ensuring Hercules could live happily ever after. But no redemption lasts forever. Years later, his second wife, tricked by jealousy and the gods, gave Hercules a poison robe. As it burned his flesh, Hercules built his own funeral pyre and stepped into it willingly. His mortal half burned away, while his divine half ascended to Olympus, earning his way into heaven through pain. Level 2. Punishments. In Greek mythology, both mortals and gods were punished. Prometheus was a titan who stole the fire of knowledge, technology, civilization, and gave it all to humanity. Zeus saw that as treason, so he chained Prometheus to a mountain where every day an eagle would rip out and eat his liver, and every night it would grow back, forever. But Prometheus never screamed or begged for mercy. He laughed because he knew he had won. Then there's the most famous punishment in all of Greek mythology, Sisyphus, the trickster king who cheated death twice. The first time was when he trapped Thanatos, the god of death, in his own chains, which meant no one on earth could die. The second time came after death was restored, but Sisyphus managed to convince Persephone, the wife of Hades, to let him visit the surface one last time to quote-unquote say goodbye. But Sisyphus never came back, at least willingly. That's because Zeus would end up catching Sisyphus and giving him a sort of ironic punishment. He decided to grant Sisyphus his wish for immortality, only his life would now solely consist of rolling a boulder up a hill and having it roll back down each time he reached the top, with Sisyphus being forced to repeat the process for eternity. Yet, even though Sisyphus knew his fate, he still pushed the boulder back up the hill each time it rolled back down. The Greeks had a saying, one must imagine Sisyphus happy, or at least that's what I learned from Instagram Reels. Level 3. Tragedies. Oedipus was born with a truly disgusting prophecy hanging over him. He would kill his father and marry his mother. When his parents became aware of the prophecy, they ordered a servant to climb a mountain and pierce the ankles of the baby to tie them up and make sure he couldn't crawl away. But the servant couldn't go through with it, giving the baby to a shepherd who in turn let him be adopted by a pair of foster parents. Oedipus lived a normal life until his late teens, when at a family dinner, a drunk man let it slip that Oedipus's parents were actually his foster parents. He asked his parents about it, but they insisted that he was the real son. But the doubt still kept nagging at him. To find the real answer, Oedipus went to the Oracle of Delphi and asked whether his foster parents were his real parents. Instead of answering, the Oracle of Delphi told him the prophecy. He would kill his father and marry his mother. Wanting to keep his foster parents safe, which again he still sort of thought were his real parents, he decided to run away, which is when he encountered an old man on a narrow road. Both of them refused to yield. They fought. Oedipus killed him, unaware it was his father, King Laius. He continued to Thebes, solving the riddle of the Sphinx, and was crowned the king. The queen he married, his mother, Jocasta. When the truth surfaced, she hanged herself. Oedipus gouged out his eyes. Reality too hard to live in. Level 4, Fairy Tale. These are by far the tamest stories because these were the stories that were told to kids. Pandora, the first woman, crafted by the gods as both a gift and a curse to humanity. She came down to earth with, contrary to popular belief, not a box, but a jar. A jar she was told never to open. But curiosity always wins. After many months of resisting, one day she lifted the lid, and every evil humanity would ever know spilled out. Disease, envy, greed, death. She did slam it shut, but it was too late. Then the second fairy tale, King Medeus. In the story of King Medeus, there was a man who wished that everything he touched would turn to gold. His wish was granted, and it seemed divine, until his food turned to metal, his wine hardened in his throat, and his daughter froze in his arms. The gift became a curse, and the wish became a warning, teaching a very important lesson. Level 5, Origins and the Ends. This is the story of why all these figures like Zeus, Pandora, Prometheus even exist, and how it all ends. At first, there was chaos. Not disorder, but emptiness. The void between potential and form. From chaos came Gaia, the earth, Tartarus, the abyss, and Eros, the force of creation. Gaia gave birth to Uranus, the sky, and together they bore the Titans, the first gods. But Uranus feared his children and buried them deep inside Gaia's body. So Gaia crafted a sickle and gave it to her son Kronos. Kronos ambushed his father, castrated him, and flung his testicles into the sea. From the foam, Aphrodite was born. Kronos took the throne and ruled a golden age, until he heard the same prophecy. One of his children would overthrow them, so he swallowed each one the moment they were born. His wife Rhea hid the youngest, Zeus, and tricked Kronos with a stone wrapped in cloth. When Zeus grew up, he forced his father to vomit up his siblings, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon. Together, they declared war on the Titans. This period in Greek mythology is called the Titanomachi, 10 years of thunder and fire that split the world in half. When the dust cleared, the Titans were chained beneath mountains, and Zeus took the throne. Because in Greek mythology they believed even the gods would die, prophecies whisper that one day, goddess of night, would end Zeus's reign, that the universe would burn in a divine fire, and from the ashes chaos would return. The same void that began it all would end it all. It's shockingly similar to the modern theory of the Big Crunch, everything expanding from a singularity and collapsing back into itself, only to repeat and expand again. This is the secret heartbeat of Greek mythology. It's not a straight story, it's a loop. Gods overthrow gods, heroes become monsters, love becomes punishment, and creation becomes destruction. All will repeat. The Greeks didn't believe in progress, they believed in pattern, that every rise carries the seed of its fall, that every victory demands a loss, that every tragedy will bloom again into meaning.